Good day, everybody. Welcome to the financial weather report for Saturday, December 18th, 2010. This is Jim Sloman speaking. You know, economic and financial statistics are wonderful, and we look at them from time to time. But the real story is told by the market charts, because, in essence, markets take all the various data and sum them up. Let's take a look. Here we see a daily chart of the 30-year Treasury bond interest rate, and on the left here we have some Ocean Pro indicators, and on the right we have some Ocean Classic indicators. Just to recap briefly, here is the triple STX from Ocean Pro, the fast in orange, the regular in blue, and the slow in the purple, and the shadow in the rose color here. Down here we have the BTX2 line, which is a directional trend indicator. The green is bullish energy and its center moving average and upper standard deviation. And the red is bearish energy and its center moving average and its upper standard deviation. Down here we have the component 4 line, the fast line in blue, the medium line in green, the slow line in orange, and the zero line, which can also participate, which is why it's called the component 4 line, in white. And down here we have the BTX1 line, which is a non-directional trend indicator, and its center moving average and its upper and lower standard deviations. Over here from Ocean Classic we have the natural moving average in blue, the fast natural moving average in orange, and their upper and lower standard deviations in the corresponding colors. Down here we have the NMC2 and its fast and regular natural moving averages in red and green, and its upper and lower standard deviations. Down here we have the two bounded indicators from Ocean Classic, the NST in orange and the NDX in blue. And then down here we have the NMC, the original zero hit indicator, and its fast and center natural moving averages and its upper and lower standard deviations. What do we see? Remember that interest rates move inversely to the bond market itself. So as interest rates rise here, it means the bond market itself is moving down. And to see the interest rates, you have to move the decimal point to the left one place. So for instance, down here, 35.19, you can see it over here. Move that decimal point to the left and the actual interest rate is 3.52%. And right here we see 4.406%. So roughly interest rates have moved up almost a full percentage point in a little bit over 3 months, a very rapid move. Basically, the bond market is getting concerned, A, that the fiscal situation of the United States is getting beyond the pale, and second of all, that all the money pouring into the asset markets is causing too many dollars sloshing around the world, and the bond market is also getting concerned about that. So we see interest rates rising here, even though the concern of the Fed was to, through its quantitative easing 1 and 2, was to drive interest rates down. We see that it's actually having the opposite effect now. And if this continues much longer, we'd be warranted in the conclusion that the Fed is actually losing control. Is this rise in interest rates on the long end going to continue or not? What do we see? First of all, we see a continuing bull market here, where prices rose above the triple STX. We have a singularity right in here, and prices rise above the triple STX. The shadow rises above it, and indicating a bull market beginning, and this positive fan formation where the fast in orange is above the medium in blue, is above the slow in purple, and price above all three. That's continuing. That continues up through here, except for this dip down in here where the fast comes down and touches the slow STX and then bounces away from it into a continuing positive fan formation. Notice that at the same time as this is happening, that the bullish energy here became dominant and has remained dominant except for this brief moment right here where the green dominant energy, bullish energy, bounced off of zero and then continued up again. Same thing here. We went into a positive fan formation in the component 4 line and then went into what I call a rippling river here, came down into this point here, and then quickly a 1 bar penetration here of zero, and then quickly came back and went into another positive fan formation. We saw that the BTX1 line, non-directional trend indicator, cut back up through its lower standard deviation and through its center moving average, and then shortly cut above zero, and has stayed there all the time except for this brief excursion here where it came down below zero, touched its lower SD, and then cut back above it, and now is above both zero and its center moving average. All of that is a bullish environment. Notice here how these excursions back were stopped by the natural moving average in both cases. But notice that price has now moved down below the fast and the regular STX and moved down below the fast NMA, so that bears watching. Notice that we had a nice confirmation here that this was ending, not only stopped by the NMA, not only this here, not only this here, and the turning of the shadow line here, but also stopped just above the zero in the NMC2 and, of course, penetrated its lower standard deviation and then went above it, indicating a continuing bullish move. Same thing here, the NST and the NDX came down into a singularity and then moved back above with the NST, very important, moving back above the NDX, indicating a continuing bullish move. And we have zero hits from above here and here, also indicating a continuing bullish move. And notice how the NMC2 has stayed above zero all through here and is still above zero. Now then, we have a zero hit from above right here. We have these two bounded indicators pointing down and the NMC pointing down, and price moving below here, as we said before. What does that indicate? It indicates that short term, very short term, price will probably continue moving down, probably bounce off of the natural moving average, and or come down here, form a zero hit from above here. We could even get a 1 bar penetration here before moving back up. Most likely that's the case. What would nullify that short-term down move is if price moves above this short-term high right here, in which case all of this continuing in a bullish environment would continue to be in effect. Let's now look at muni bonds. Of course, it's becoming common knowledge that the municipal states and cities are in serious trouble. States have currently a $114 billion deficit cumulatively, and they have $1 trillion in unfunded pension obligations. And they don't have the ability to print money. As a matter of fact, Jerry Brown, the incoming governor of California, when he looked at the books, he said the actual deficit cap is $29 billion. He said he was shocked to see what the actual situation was. So what do we have here? Normally, munis are considered a very dull market because not much happens. We saw that right here, the bullish energy came down, touched zero and touched the bearish energy, but then bounced off it and continued its positive movement. But then came up here, came above its upper SD, and then cut down below it, which was the first bearish indication. Second of all, the bearish energy cut above its center moving average. We saw that price moved down below this ledge here, formed by all three of the triple STXs moving together. The shadow moved down below all three of the triple STXs as well, another bearish indication. We saw that the bullish energy cut back below its own center moving average, another bearish indication. And we saw that the bearish energy moved above not only its own center moving average, but then moved above zero right here and is continuing to move up in a continuing bearish move. Notice here that we had a positive indication. The component 4 line came down into a singularity here, moved out into a positive fan formation, came down into another singularity here, moved up into another positive fan formation where the fast is above the medium, is above the slow, this move up here, but then came down into another singularity right here, and then moved into the next bar right here, a negative fan formation, which has continued to this day. Notice also that the BTX non-directional trend indicator, that the energy came down below its center moving average, but then quickly has moved up and is now still above it and rising, indicating that overall this bearish move is still very much in effect. Notice here that we have a negative fan formation from the triple STX, that is the fast is below the regular, is below the slow here. But notice that over here we have price has touched its lower SD right here and right in here, as well as has done a V turn right here below its standard deviation. So chances are prices will move up here, where probably up to the standard STX right here, which as it's moving down rapidly would probably be in this area right here, probably about 101 and a half or so. Notice that this has the NMC number 2 has cut up above as well, and if it passes above its upper SD would be likely to move up into this area. We're likely to see therefore very short term prices move up to this area here, form a zero hit from below. We're likely to see the NST and the NDX. Notice that the NST is staying above the NDX, which means price will probably move up here very short term, form another singularity here, and then continue moving down. Notice that we had zero hits from above right here in this area. Notice that the NMC2 hit its upper SD right here and then moved down this top right here. Notice how the turn in the shadow indicated the same thing. Notice this zero hit from above right here. Then it moved in above its upper SD and cut back below it, cut back below its fast moving natural moving average as well, came up here, hit its natural moving average, fast natural moving average, and bounced down below it. All bearish indications. Notice that the NST and the NDX came up into a conjunction here and moved down. Notice how we had zero hits from above here, and then came up above its upper SD, came up and right into this area here between its two natural moving averages, came down and then quickly kept moving down here. So we expect this to move up, therefore, very short term, and then continue its downward movement. Let's now look at the Standard & Poor's 500, the U.S. stock market. Notice how we had a positive fan formation start right here, continue all through here, came down through into this conjunction here. Notice at the same time that the bullish energy crossed above the bearish energy right here. Notice at the same time that a positive fan formation started in the component 4 line right here and has continued all through this area here. Notice also that the BTX1 line touched its lower SD down here, moved above zero, and has continued above zero until this area right in here, where it moved below zero, but then cut above its lower SD, and now is moving and continuing above zero, moving sideways. So notice that the BTX2 line, the green dominant energy here, is staying well above zero, well above its center moving average, and continues to be dominant. Notice that we have a continuing positive fan formation here and a continuing now positive fan formation up here. So all of that is a bullish environment. Notice how we had these brief excursions down below the natural moving average here, but then they moved above it. Notice how price moved above its triple STX right here. Notice how we had at the same time that we had this and this, we also had a zero hit from above in the NMC2, and that except for this brief 1 bar excursion here, the NMC2 has stayed positive all through this movement here and continues positive, and came down, touched its fast NMA, and then bounced off above it. So all very much continuing in a positive vein. Notice at the same time as these two that we had the singularities right here from the two bounded rainbow indicators right here and right here. They've now moved above with the NST above the NDX, above its center moving average, and continuing again a bullish environment. Notice here we had the three, counting this one, 4 zero hits from above right here. All of these areas here, this one, this one, this one, and this one, indicating continuing areas to get on or add on. We had these brief excursions here, but we noticed here that since these were bouncing up here, that the move was going to continue bullish. The fact that the fast STX basically came down, touched the slow STX, and then moved back up again. Same thing here indicated, same thing here indicated that the bullish move was going to continue, and we have price above both its NMAs and its STXs right here. So we have a continuing bullish environment in the U.S. stock market, in spite of the fact we have corporate sellers selling at a frantic rate. We have mutual fund cash levels at the lowest levels ever recorded. We have bullish sentiment levels at very high levels, all of which would normally indicate that we're ready for a very bearish move in the stock market. But all of that has been true all through this move in here. So what's happening, I think, is that we've got $110 billion of freshly printed money coming into the system every single month now. Since the announcement of that back in here, and the fulfillment of that now, and ongoing fulfillment of that, I think that money is bleeding off into the asset markets, including the stock market. And in a very bullish market, it can get very overbought in various ways and then just keep going anyway. So until we see some signs of deterioration here, we're entitled to think that this bull market is continuing. Let's now look at banks. Of course, the banking system and the health of the banking system and what it does is very important, not only to the economy but to the stock market. And notice that all through here, the NMA was essentially flat, indicating that prices were simply going to be oscillating up and down. And the shadow here was very good at calling these turns. Here, you can't see it here, but you can see that it was moving down almost immediately. Notice that we had, during that same time, we had these reversals in the BTX2 line, but that now the green bullish energy, the dominant energy, now has moved higher than it did in any of these here, indicating that the bullish energy is truly becoming dominant now. Same thing here, the BTX1 line, the energy not only moved above 35, but moved above this prior high right here and is now moving sideways. We notice that price is above all three of its triple STXs. We notice that we have a positive fan formation here. Yes, the shadow is moving down, so that is a cautionary sign. We did have the bullish energy here reach its upper SD and move back inside of it, but it's moving sideways now, and price did clear, came down right to its STX here in classic fashion and has now moved above it. So overall, a bullish environment. Notice here at the same time that the turns in the shadow were occurring, we have the price here reaching its upper SDs right in here, and they reached it again right in here, but a very shallow move down in here, and then price has now moved back above both of its natural moving averages. And notice in here that price moved below its lower SDs, did so again here, and moved up. At the same time, we had the NMC2, the standard shape of a market, you might say, came down, touched its lower SD right here, and has now moved back into a positive configuration and looks like it's about to cross above its fast natural moving average as well. Notice that the NST here has moved back above. It had this, again, this cyclic action, but has moved back above the NDX and is staying there and is moving sideways to slightly upwards now, and the NDX appears to be bouncing off of its center moving average. We had here the hitting of its upper SD right here, here, and here. Same thing here, hitting its upper SD. Came down, hit its lower SD right here and right here. Came up, rapidly moved up into this area here, is staying positive, has moved above its fast natural moving average, all of which is indicating that the banks are looking better than they've looked in some time, and that is also lending support to the stock market, at least short term. Let's now move to gold. Gold is in a ferocious bull market. Notice how we have a positive fan formation going on in here. We have the turn in the shadow, which came down here. Notice that the fast STX came down in this sandwich area here between the regular and the slow STX and then moved out of it. At the same time, the shadow turned, moved, and then moved above it here. And we have maintained a positive fan formation all through here, except through right here where the fast STX came down and touched in a singularity its regular STX, and then both price and the fast STX quickly moved above it, indicating a continuing bullish move. Notice here that at the same time, we had the bullish energy get predominant right here, again indicating a bullish move. Notice that during this come down here into this area right here, that the bullish energy bounced off of zero and then continued moving up into here. Briefly hit its upper SD. We had a short down move here. But then this, as price moved above here, we had the bullish energy quickly bounce off of zero and move above here, and then move above its center moving average. Now it is right at a point where it could move below its center moving average, but still well above the bearish energy, still well above zero, still dominant. We still, down here at the component 4 line, we had a singularity right here, move out into a positive fan formation here, come down into this area here, bounced off its lower SD, moved up into another positive fan formation here, one that is continuing right here, which means that even if prices move down to their fast or their regular STXs, right in here or in here, most likely we are continuing in a bullish environment in gold. So we'll have to see, but most likely would be if prices move down into here, while this remains bullish and this remains bullish, we'd see it bounce off of the 35 level here, which often occurs, and then move back up here. Notice over here on the Ocean Classic side, price came down here right to its natural moving average, came down here almost to its natural moving average, has formed a ledge up here above its fast natural moving average, and so far is staying above it. If it were to move down both this level right here and this level right here, the fast NMA are roughly at the same level, so we would expect prices to probably bounce off of right here and then continue moving up like this. Notice that at these points where price came down here and here, here and here, of course, we had almost a zero hit from above right here, very close to it. And in both cases, it went below its lower SD right here and then back above it. Same thing here, both indicating a continuation of the bullish move. Notice that the NMC2 has continued in a positive mode all through this move and is positive as we speak. Notice too that the NST in orange has remained above the NDX in blue. Even though they're moving down here, this is remaining above the NDX, indicating that we are in a continuing bullish environment. Of course, we had continuing zero hits from above here and here and here. And it is remaining above its natural moving average right here, all of which is indicating that gold is very much so far continuing in a bullish move. Let's look at copper, Dr. Copper as it's called, the metal with a PhD in economics, because it is so indicative of the economy as a whole. Notice that we had the gap formation right here where these two move close together and open up a big gap between themselves and the slow STX. The same thing happened here. We got the down move we expected, which was shortly turned around by the slow STX, moved back above it. We got the down move that we expected here, the turn in the shadow, the turn in the shadow here. Prices quickly moved down below here. The bearish energy was dominant here for a short while, but the shadow turned quickly. You can't see it here, the actual turn, but it turned actually quite quickly and started moving up well before prices actually moved above their triple SDX, which they did right here. And notice that the fast STX came down, formed a conjunction right here with the slow STX, and then moved above it, and then has moved into a positive fan formation here, which continues to this day. Notice that the shadow is pointing upwards here. The bullish energy is very much dominant and pointing upwards. We have the beginning of a positive fan formation right in here, which is continuing to this day. Notice here that the BTX1 line bounced off its lower SD, came up above it, and has been rising ever since and is rising still. Also bullish. Over here on the Ocean Classic side, prices came down, were turned away by the natural moving average here, came down here. Notice how we had a very deep retracement right here, which was indicated by the NMC2 moving below its lower SD, but has moved above it and then moved above its fast natural moving average right here, quickly moved above zero. We had this come down up here and come down to its fast and natural moving average conjunction right here, and then quickly moved above it, just as it did right here. Notice that the NST has moved above the NDX and is staying there right here. Notice that the NMC2 bounced off its fast natural moving average here and has continued moving up, is now moving sideways, which is perfectly consistent with a continuing bullish move. Same thing here, has continued above the NDX here, bullish. We have these zero hits from above right here. continuing up. Now we notice that price has moved above its upper SD right here, is touching it right here, and is touching it right here, which indicates that we could see a very short-term pullback in the copper market. If so, it would be likely to move back down to its regular STX, which is moving up, so it would probably meet it right about here at the 3.89, 3.90 level, and then most likely bounce up unless we see drastic changes in what we're seeing here from all the different ocean indicators. Let's now move to crude, and notice that crude, the natural moving average has been essentially flat all through here with an upward bias, however, but therefore price has been oscillating up and down, back and forth across its natural moving average. And so we see prices here oscillating up and down, called quite well by the shadow. This top, this top, this top, this bottom right here. Notice that we have a singularity here going on in the triple STX. Then price moved above, came back down, touched it in classic fashion, and then moved above it right here at the same time that the bullish energy here moved above the bearish energy and zero, and has maintained that except for this brief excursion right here. Notice that the shadow turned right here. Notice that the bullish energy here has started moving up here, is now the dominant energy, and continuing as the dominant energy, is staying above its center moving average, is staying above zero. That is a continuing bullish move. Notice here that price is just barely above its triple STX, but still is. The shadow is moving down. We have right here the fast and the medium component 4 lines have joined together into a singularity. Now, that's either going to cross here or it's going to bounce off. Same thing here. It's either going to cross below its fast STX or it's going to bounce up. Most likely, because of what we're seeing here, we're seeing that the NMC2 is continuing in bullish mode here above it both zero and the natural moving average. We have the zero hits from above here. Notice the singularities. It came down and formed here right in this area here where prices were meeting their lower SDs, and of course bouncing off their natural moving averages right here. Notice that the NST and the NDX came down into a singularity right here and right here, and now have stayed positive except for this excursion right here where it came down below here but then quickly moved back into a positive formation here, which is continuing as we speak. Same thing here. We have these positive zero hits from above here and here and here and here. This is pointing up, and we have a zero hit from above here. So chances are prices may move down slightly into this area to touch its regular STX, which of course was designed that way, but most likely will then continue upwards. And of course, near the 90 level, crude oil is beginning to act as a tax upon the economy. Here we have a weekly level of agriculture, and notice here that we came down, formed a singularity right up in here, price with the triple STX, and then moved down below it at the same time that the bearish energy rose above and became dominant right in here. Notice, however, that right in here the shadow turned right in here. The bearish energy hit its upper SD right in here and moved down below it. Notice that it crossed below its center moving average right here. Notice that the bullish energy crossed above its center moving average right here and then crossed above the bearish energy right here at the same time that we moved into a positive fan formation here, which moved up, came down into this singularity right here. Notice that even though price went below briefly its triple STX, notice that the bullish energy stayed completely dominant during that time, and notice that we stayed in a positive fan formation here from the component 4 line, indicating that this was going to move back up again. Notice also that the trend energy here stayed positive. It has now bounced off its center moving average. Notice that this, the medium line here, did a very brief excursion right below here, but then has bounced up, and we now have a positive fan formation once again. The bullish green energy appears to be bouncing off its center moving average. Price is above all 3 of its triple STXs, which is positive. Notice how price came down below here to, on an intraday basis, to the slow STX, and on a closing basis to the regular STX, and has now moved above all 3. The shadow is pointing up. Notice that in these same spots we had price here moved a 1-bar excursion above the NMA and then moved back below it. Same thing here, came up to the NMA, moved back below it, came up to the NMA, moved back below it. But at the same time here we had this singularity from the bounded rainbow indicators here. But notice that these were staying very close to 0 here, indicating that we were entitled to basically disregard these 0 hits occurring here, and the same thing here. The bands were narrowing down, staying very close to 0, so we were entitled to disregard these 0 hits, but now has moved decisively above its old highs here, came down to 0 hits here and here at the same time that we had these 2 things right here, this and this, came down to the natural moving average, came down this brief excursion below the fast NMA here, same thing, came down right in here in the triple STX, but this is now the NST is above the NDX, this is pointing up, this is pointing up, price is above this, price is above both of these, so we are definitely still in a bullish environment, although we notice that the NMC2 and the NMC are both very near their upper SDs here, so we could see some action here, slightly sideways for a little while, but unless all of this changes drastically, we're still very much in a bullish environment here. Let's go to Japan. This is a daily chart of Japan here, and notice that Japan here has been in a steady kind of sideways movement with an upward bias. It's been a bull market, but a relatively grinding bull market. Notice that prices have come down and been basically stopped by the NMA each time, so that if they were to come down again, we would expect them to be stopped by the NMA again. And notice that here, this excursion down into this singularity right here, even as price was below, we had a singularity from the STX here, and notice that the bullish energy remained well above the bearish energy at that time. We came into a singularity here where the 4 line touched 0 and then moved back into a positive fan formation here. Same thing here, we had a singularity, a negative fan formation here, which quickly ended, and then has come up here. We had the positive fan formation briefly come down into a singularity right here and touched 0 right here in both of these areas while the NMA was stopping both of them, and we had a 0 hit from above right here and right here. We had the NMC2 go below its NMC, that's its lower standard deviation right here, and then quickly move above. We had a singularity right here, and then quickly move above. Another one right here. The NST is staying above the NDX, a bullish sign. Notice we had a 1-bar excursion right here, right down to its lower SD, and otherwise this has stayed, except for this excursion here, this has stayed positive all through here. So the Japanese stock market again came down into this excursion, came down, touched its lower SD here. So this is still very much in a bullish environment unless something drastically changes, and we would not expect price to come down below here. But in general, things are staying quite positive so far, even though Japan on a relative basis has the largest debt in the world, and at some point that is going to cause an absolute Krakatoa, but it appears not yet. Now let's look at Europe. This is an index of various European, important European stocks. And notice how price came down here. We had a positive fan formation all through here. Prices were basically stopped by the slow STX all through here. And then we had the gap formation right in here moving sideways. These two close together opened up a gap. We got the downward movement that we expected, the turn in the shadow, moving rapidly downwards. In classic fashion, price came up here, touched the slow STX, could not even make it to the regular STX, and then fell away. At the same time, the bearish energy here came down to its center moving average, did not even touch it, and then bounced away from it here. Notice we had the singularity right here, which very quickly moved out into a negative fan formation, which maintained itself until this touched its lower SD right here, and then came up, formed another singularity right here, which has moved into a positive fan formation here. Notice, however, that these two have are very close to each other right here. Notice that we have a singularity right here, which could either move through or bounce off. Remains to be seen. So we have an indeterminate status right here, an indeterminate status right here. Price is below its fast STX, but so far is staying above its regular and slow STX. Notice that right in here, the BTX1 line moved above its ST and then cut back below it right in here, again indicating the end of that trend. Over here on the Ocean Classic side, again, we have price has moved. We have a ledge right here. Price has moved below it. Right here, we have 0 hits from below right here. And right here, prices, the NMC2 is moving down. The NMC is moving down as well. However, the NST is staying above the NDX. And price is still above its the regular and the slow STX. So it would not be too surprising to see price move back up into this area here. And then it remains to be seen. We're at an indeterminate thing here. Definitely not looking as bullish as the other markets we've looked at. But remember, Germany is still driving the European Union. Germany is still doing quite well. What we want to see is, will price go above this high right here, and right here? If so, if the bullish energy bounces off of here, if the component 4 line bounces off, the fast of the component 4 line bounces off the medium right here. If all of those things happen, then price could continue upward. Otherwise, if the NMC2 were to move below its 2 moving averages here, which it has already done here, if the NST were to move below the NDX and so forth. So all this remains, the European stock market is in a state of flux, and it remains to be seen what's going to happen there. Let's move to the Chinese stock market now. And notice that the shadow turned right here. Notice that price went above the shadow right here and then quickly moved down, of course. Notice that we had a singularity right here and prices moved up, down, and then came back up into here in classic fashion, moved down, came back up here to the STX, slow STX right here, again moved away from it, came up here to its regular STX, moved away from it. It is now in a negative fan formation as it has been since here and is continuing in that formation. Notice that the bearish energy bounced off of its center moving average right here and right here, right in here, right in here. Notice that we had a singularity right here which quickly moved into a negative fan formation here, which came up into a singularity right here, bounced off it. We are back into a negative fan formation here. Price, of course, below its triple STX, which is maintaining a negative fan formation. Over here on the Ocean Classic side, the fast NMA is below the regular NMA. Price came up here and touched the NMA at the same time that it was touching its slow NMA right here, came back up to the fast NMA. That's very unusual to see. It stopped at the very same place in the NMA and the slow STX, stopped here by the regular STX and the fast NMA. That's quite unusual, but did happen. And now price has moved below both of its NMAs. Notice here that the NMC2 cut below its fast moving average, came back up, went down to its lower SD right here, came back up to its fast moving average, hit it right here and then bounced away, and then has quickly moved down, has stayed below zero here. Notice it was positive all through this movement. Up in here is staying below zero now, came up to its almost to zero here, couldn't make it, bounced back, came back, touched its fast moving average here and is moving down, all of which is very bearish. Notice that the NST here has stayed below the NDX, even though it tried to get back to it here, couldn't do so, stayed below it, continuing a bearish configuration. Notice that the zero hits from below right in here. Notice that the NMC came up and bounced off its fast NMA here and has continued down. However, it has hit its lower SD right here. This has hit its lower SD right here. This has hit its lower, has gone below its lower SD right here. So it would not be surprising to see prices move back to the STX right here, move back to the fast NMA right in here. Both of them are roughly at the same level, around 26.8, 26.8 or so. Again, since those two are in agreement, it would be not at all unusual to see price move back in here. But the Chinese stock market, it must be said, is looking quite bearish at this point. Notice that the BTX1 line has moved above its center moving average and has now moved above the 35 level that indicates a strong trend. And so we can expect, even if prices move up into this area, to a continuing downtrend. Now let's look at the dollar. And so many things are keying off the dollar. But notice that we came up into this singularity right in here, a turn in the shadow, moved down here, another turn in the shadow. We had a brief excursion down in here, but then price moved above all three of its triple STXs here. The shadow quickly cut above right here. Notice that the bullish energy reached its lower SD right here and then cut above it. It crossed above the bearish energy N0 right here, crossed above its center moving average right here, came down right at this area where price came down and touched its fast STX. The bullish energy here came down and was caught in this area right here and then bounced up above it. Notice that we had singularities right here. Right here, we had a singularity right here, which quickly moved into a negative fan formation, which continued in here. Notice that we had the same thing, the bearish energy quickly moved above the bullish energy right here. The singularity here quickly moved into its own negative fan formation, which continued all through here, came up into another singularity right here, and then moved away into a negative fan formation again, came down. Just as the shadow was turning here and just as this was reaching its lower SD, so was the component 4 line reaching its lower SD right here, quickly moved into a positive fan formation of its own, but now is in a somewhat indeterminate area. This did come down, bounce off zero, but now these three are basically forming a conjunction altogether, so it remains to be seen what will happen here. Same thing here. This came up above 35, came down, bounced off 35 as in a classic fashion, has now moved back down to 35, and the question is, will it bounce off it and move up like this, or move back down through it? So far, the bullish energy here is maintaining above the bearish energy, but just barely. So we don't yet have a clear indication, although since price is above its triple STX, the presumption has to be that this will continue in a bullish fashion here. Same thing here, we had price come down right in this area here, the same area here. The NMC2 came down, bounced off of both of its moving averages, which had moved together in classic fashion, moved out above here. Same thing here, came down, formed this conjunction right here, moved up above it, moved into a positive formation right here with the NST remaining above, came down into a singularity at zero with zero right here, and has bounced off above it, and most importantly is above the NDX right now. Notice how price came down to the natural moving average right here, bounced off it roughly right in this area right here. Price came down again towards the natural moving average, bounced off it, came down again to the natural moving average, bounced off it, and is now above both of its natural moving averages. We had these positive zero hits from above right here, here, and here, and price came down and bounced off its fast moving average here. So altogether a somewhat bullish environment. Long term, of course, it's hard to see how the dollar would not continue its bearish movement, but right now what we see is that money is moving into the dollar. As Europe is in trouble, as China is stepping on the brakes because of its very virulent inflation, basically we see money moving back into the dollar, and the U.S. stock market so far continuing in its bullish move. How long that can continue as the Chinese stock market probably continues down, and as the European stock market basically declares itself one way or another. Be very interesting to see how this all plays out in 2011. That's the financial weather report for December 18th, 2010. The next financial weather report is in 3 weeks on Saturday, January 8th. In closing, I'd like to read you a brief quote from Tenzin Gyatso, the 14th and current Dalai Lama. Here it is. If you want others to be happy, practice compassion. If you want to be happy, practice compassion. That's all for today. May everyone have a wonderful holiday season, and may every possible good fortune be yours until we meet again. Bye-bye now.